And there we go. We're
Brilliant.
live. 5 minutes late. Apologies, but there was a slight technical error, which we fixed inside 4.5 minutes. So we are ready to talk all things property. Today, or this evening, I should say, I'm joined by Michael. Michael is over in High Wycombe, Haslemere, Bucks, covering the Bucks area for Avocado. So looking forward to having a conversation with Mike about all things going on in Buckinghamshire and particularly those areas. I've got Tristan here with me, same as last week, for an update for property investors and landlords from the Landlord page. Tristan covers all things Avocado lettings for the brand. So looking forward to that convo. And I've got Dan from Dan and Neil Estate Agents covering Shinfield, Winnersh, Arborfield and L. Early. We had obviously Neil, your partner in crime, on recently. So I'm looking forward to this chat. We've got a great group of us for today. So if anyone is watching and you've got a question about anything at all, we are not shy. Throw it in the comments. We will see it while we're live. We will talk about it. Can't promise we'll answer any question, but we'll definitely read it out at least. So mainly property related would be great. We're going to talk about, are we in a new market? Which I think is something that I know Dan and Mike are interested to discuss. We're going to talk about headline rates, what's going on in the mortgage world at the moment, demand, what areas and what types of properties are people looking for. Mention the word Christmas as well at some point, which scary in our industry, but it's relative to discuss. Valuations and how much of an increase we've had since the bank holiday, legal transactions, and of course the second phase of the stamp duty as well. But before we get stuck into that, Dan, I'll come to you first. How are you? How is business?
Yeah, really good, really good. It's been an incredibly busy start for all the right reasons to September. We're in the 2nd of September, but I think this week has felt like a bit of a build-up to something we knew would happen, which I've seen is a lot more activity, potentially more properties coming to the market, and yeah, it's going to keep us on our toes for the next, I think this whole month, I think is going to be very popular with a lot of buyers and sellers.
I think you've seen from talking to you sort of offline, quite a lot of successes with all types of properties, but apartments, character properties, seen some higher end properties come to the market as well. So it doesn't appear to be anything that's not selling as long as it's done properly.
No, if it's priced correctly and it's marketed well, I think you've got a really good chance of finding one of those buyers that are out there looking. I think buyers want to buy. We've just got to make sure we can find them. It's interesting you touch on apartments, because if you went back a year ago or 2 years ago, everyone was like, stay away from those. But don't seem to find an issue with finding some fantastic buyers for them as long as you're looking in the right spots.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Mike, I'm going to come to you, but Tristan, I've just got to highlight that your chair does very much make you look like you've got a neck brace on.
I thought exactly the same thing, but there's not.
Just to confirm, there was no Tristan's harm in this video, and he is all okay and medically sound. Michael, jumping over to you. How are you finding things? How is the Haslemere village taken to the launch of Avocado property up there? What sort of things are people looking for? And how is the general Michael Childs working at the moment?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good. It's very grammar school and school orientated where I am. So August, everybody I knew, every time I went on Facebook, everyone's away, doing stuff with the kids. So it's nice today to get them back to school, and you can already see things sort of picking up and moving. And the demand, if it's 3-bed, 4-bed, semi-detached, doesn't matter what, loads of buyers, loads of interest.
And we're talking about headline rates as well, weren't we?
Yeah.
I know you talk with Dan all the time on the mortgage element of things. I'm always talking to Alan and Dave from AFP. Michael, I know you've got your contact as well, that you've been posting quite a lot of good mortgage updates. But I mean, you've been in the industry pretty much as long as me, and I don't think we've seen interest rates as low as this from a mortgage perspective for as long as I can remember.
Nah, nothing. So near 1%, below it is crazy low. The last mortgage I had, it was 3.1%, and I thought that was good.
Well, it was.
It was. I've had a 6.5% interest rate mortgage in my lifetime. So there we go. No, good stuff. We're going to come back and talk about kids going back to school, because I think that's vital. And I think we've seen the change and the wave around that already. So definitely going to talk about that. And for people that are struggling to find properties at the moment, maybe that curve is about to change and we might see an influx of properties. Before we do, for the property investors and for the landlords out there, Tristan, that's not wearing a neck brace, would you like to give us your kind of brief update on what's going on in the landlord world at the moment? I know you've got some stats for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we've been speaking about for a while, it's been lack of stock for a long period of time and high demand. But I received a report from one of my brokers just with an update of what's going on in the marketplace from demand and so forth, and some interesting stats that's actually out there at the moment. So there's been a 41% increase in tenant demands, which is quite substantial. And obviously it's shown that with the amount of inquiries we've had through. Average yields currently stands about 5.6%. So still some great yields out there, which doesn't surprise me based on how prices are going, obviously pushing up. But believe it or not, 5% of investors have actually purchased properties in the last 3 months. So there has been a slight increase of investors out there that's been out purchasing, which is great news from that. You may have seen already on our page, we do a buy to let of the week. So it's not properties that's listed just with Avocado. I will go out and pre-select an area where I feel there's a good buy to let opportunity, or Mike will, and just go out and basically talk about the property, why it's a good investment, how it can add value, the typical yield you'd be looking to achieve on that. So this week, Mike went out to Malladale Road in Bracknell. It's a 3-bedroom end terrace with garage and driveway for 350,000. Would have been a 5.1% yield in Forest Park. Great location, very rentable, and would have achieved 1,500. So if you're not following our page already and you're out there thinking of renting or buying an investment, and you don't know where to start or you'd like some more advice, then feel free to get in contact with myself and I'm happy to give free advice on that.
No, good stuff. Dan, I know you've been dealing with quite a lot of property investors that have been buying properties at the moment, but it just seems like a good place to put money. We talk about interest rates being so low, but that's because the base rate is so low. And because the base rate is so low, savings has sort of almost no value. You're kind of a plateau level on that. So you've been dealing with quite a lot of investors at the moment, I think, that are looking to buy all sorts of properties.
It's a complete mixture. I think there's always been, hasn't there? It's a good place to put your money is in property. That's been like that for a number of years. And you could say it's become more challenging with things like the stamp duty threshold changing and extra percentage you have to pay. But I've seen the last, I'd say, year, a lot more investors coming out and buying properties and wanting to move them forward. And I think that's because, as Tristan was saying, there's a huge demand. There's a lot of people wanting to rent. And there's a lot of good value houses you can get still for really low mortgage rates. So why wouldn't you invest in property? It's a safe place to put it. And some of the properties as well, like apartments we were talking about and touching on, where they did drop value over the last couple of years. And they're now at a price point which is probably slightly more appealing for the return you're going to get. They're actually really good investments. So we've been selling a lot of investment properties, which are apartments, to new investors again.
No, definitely. I think the home counties where we all work is just a sound and solid place to invest. I spoke last week about the fact that London apartments was the only place in the country year to date that has actually dropped in value. So it's fairly evident that people are moving out of London, and the next ripple is the home counties where we're all operating. And whether it's tenant demand or buyer demand, it's very, very high indeed. No, good, interesting stats there. The bank holiday, obviously, Mike, you mentioned about grammar schools where you are and kids going back to school today. I know we all popped a bottle of champagne this morning at about 9 o'clock when all the kids walked through the gate. So from an element of sort of historic trends, September, October, normally very good months for new listings, I would say, Michael. Would you give any advice to people that have been looking in the background, not seeing any properties that maybe, with any luck, fingers crossed, is about to be an influx of property? What should they be doing if they're about to see new properties hit the market?
Yeah, I think more so this year, because this year as well, we've had the restrictions lifted and, green list countries and you could go away. So particularly where I am, throughout July as well, it it was slow for new stock coming on, new properties coming on the market. That continued into August. And just from the valuations I've been to throughout August, it was a case of those people, they want to sell, they want to come onto the market, but they were just waiting to get the holidays out of the way, waiting almost for normal life to resume. And then they'll go for it, you know, they'll get on the market.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Coming on, yeah. I think probably more sort of next week where I am. Some of the children don't go back until tomorrow where I am. So normal life will start, you know, from Monday onwards.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Dan, we've seen an influx in valuations, I think, since Friday, since the bank holiday. And like Mike says, kids are either going to be back to school today, tomorrow, or in some cases Monday, I believe. Some of the younger ones going back on Monday. But we've definitely seen an uplift in valuations. So how do you feel about new listings? You know, have you got a lot of properties that are about to go live, more so than what in the last 6 weeks?
Properly excited, to be honest with you. It's a similar thing. Like we know, traditionally it's like this every year, isn't it? Well, usually speaking, it goes quiet in the summer and then it picks up from September. It's almost a couple of months of a buzz. And I was interested to see if this year would be the same. And I think it definitely is. Interestingly for me, a lot of the people that are getting valuations, they are all wanting to go on the market. They're not just doing it for a price. And second of all, I reckon about half of the people I've spoken to, interestingly, were on the market for a period of time last year at the start of COVID or the middle of when it got quite bad. And they've watched the market and they've decided that now's the right time. So they've actually, a lot of these properties have been on but didn't sell, or they were in a really, really bad dip right when, you know, we locked down properly and you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's almost like those have decided now is the right time to do it. So I think you're going to see a lot of properties available across, you know, the whole market for people to move. And a lot more options. We've got, I reckon myself and Neil have got a good handful of properties which are under offer that need to find, which we sold last month. And all those people would now be, I have no doubt, finding properties to buy. So it's going to be really exciting. I think we've got, I'd say about 10 or 12 properties in the next 10 days that will be going live and going up and getting up and running. So, and you know, for us, that's fantastic. And there's a lot of estate agents in a big market out there, isn't there? So if we're an indicator of that, there's going to be a fair few. Definitely
seen it across the group. And I think, you know, if you're watching this video and you're an estate agent, are you finding the same thing? Comment, love to hear it. If you're watching and you're a client, someone that's not on the market, someone that's been trying to buy somewhere and just not been finding what you're looking for and you want some advice, ask us a question and we'll answer it. I think for everyone that's watching, wherever you may be across the home counties, be it Buckinghamshire, be it Hampshire, Surrey, Berkshire, make sure you find the right Avocado page and follow them, because when we do our hashtag beat the portals, it gives people the ability to get ahead of the curve. And that's why we do it. If you're following those pages, you're going to see properties go live before they hit the portals. So you can beat the crowd, you can beat the traffic, get ahead of the Rightmove traffic and Zoopla traffic. Just follow and like those pages. You'll see the beat the portals kick off, and it's just a great way for you to get ahead of the game. So really, really important stuff. What about legal transactions? I'll come back to you on this, Dan. In terms of legal transactions, are you finding solicitors are performing and working a little bit quicker now that the first phase of the stamp duty has come up? Are we going to see another bottleneck of transactions struggle to get through this month, or is everything okay?
I don't know about the bottleneck. I don't know, to be honest with you. Doesn't feel like there's going to be that huge bottleneck there was because of the level of stamp duty saving as there was in June. I expected things to be a bit quicker, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of the ones we're dealing with, they seem to have dragged a bit longer. And I wonder whether that's because a lot of the solicitors I've spoken to have maybe taken their holidays and time off now when it's got a bit quieter, and they're a little bit, rather than, oh, they've got more time now because it's a little bit easier, they've actually might be a bit thinner on the ground themselves. So I've actually seen it take just the same amount of time and things drag a little bit from my point of view. So nothing's really sped up. If anything, dragged a little bit too much, but hopefully that doesn't cause a bottleneck at the end of this month. I think everything will be okay. I don't think we've got any panics or worries with the ones you've got going through. I think there's a lot of people that would like to save that £2,500 saving, but I don't think anyone is dependent on it. That's going through at the moment, if that makes sense.
we're probably lucky around the home counties that everyone wants £2,500, but it won't be the be all or end all for their dream home. The way things are going at the moment, I would imagine, Mike, from your perspective, at the point of an offer being agreed to 12 weeks later it completing, in most occasions at the moment, they've made £2,500 in equity anyway in that time frame.
Yeah, easy. Almost within a couple of months.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of people I'm handing keys over to and saying, well done, you've made 10 grand. And it's obviously relative to the onward. Got a question from Sanjay. He has dug us out slightly for not having enough pink on this live video, which is fair, which is a fair comment.
Go change my hoodie if you want, it's fine.
So the question is, it's a good question for the public here. Seen a lot of houses on Rightmove being reduced in price, more so than normal. Why do we think this is? I know it's difficult to talk on behalf of other estate agents. Just quickly for Tristan, are you seeing that in lettings, or is everything still letting?
Everything's still letting from my side. I mean, I haven't reduced any properties, and the ones I've seen have all been coming on and letting within days. So I certainly haven't seen it, no. No,
good. Okay, that's interesting. Mike, from your point of view, at where you are you seeing a lot more properties reduced? Do you think people got a little bit excited with pricing? Did estate agents do their classic kind of overvaluing to win the business? What's kind of your view on that?
I think only really, it sounds like a lot of money to me still, but sort of 600, 700,000 and upwards, you'll see in some reductions there. But anything below that is just going. They're just going. But again, that's the stamp duty thing. I think when people have sort of maybe overinflated the price of the property to get it on, and now the buyers aren't making that saving, so that's where they're reducing up here anyway. So
maybe people that missed the deadline, we're seeing the 15k knock on those potentially if people have priced them incorrectly. I haven't seen too much around kind of where I'm operating, sort of the Bratton and Wokingham areas. I haven't seen too much of that going on. There is some standout properties where you think someone's either got a bit greedy or the estate agent's got a bit carried away, but typically most things seem to be moving. What about your sort of area, Dan? Any comments on that about Rightmove price reductions?
It's a bit of a mixture, isn't it? Sometimes you can't avoid it. I mean, we hardly reduce anything, but sometimes you just can't, because you just can't get the price right on something that's very individual. But I think if there's anything that's being reduced, it is the stuff that's been on, as Mike said, that was on maybe pre the last stamp duty, that's still sat there where they've tried to grab a price that hasn't come through. And it's then a question of their motivation, isn't it? Whether they wanted to move for stamp, they just come off the market, or they still want to try and move, and then they need to reduce. I do see a few, though, go on I like to use the word rocket money. Like, you do look at some and they're just absolutely massive prices. But I do think there's going to be individuals out there, and why wouldn't you? If you think the market's increasing, there's a chance to make a load of money and sell and get out, you might just try it and be cheeky and see what happens. But it obviously doesn't work in all scenarios.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, actually, isn't it, with pricing, because as estate agents out there, typically what we've definitely seen over the last couple of months since the first phase of the stamp duty holiday, we've seen much less properties come into the market. They are typically in sales. They're driven by targets. We're not, obviously. We don't have whiteboards with big KPIs all over, which is where we're different, where we're trying to change. But in a typical traditional fashion, they are told to get X amount of listings, and as a result, sometimes they go out there and do what they need to do to win the business.
I will touch on something just on that, actually. There's one I saw recently that's come on the market with us and come from a different estate agent, and they were priced at 273,219 or something like that. Really random, ridiculous price point. And it's because they were asked to reduce by a certain percentage, but 2%. Twice. Yeah, to hit the Rightmove stats, and that all that is a figure hitting sort of thing for the whiteboard behind you, isn't it? I need to get a reduction. I've been targeted, where it's not the right advice for the client. And then when you do see those random price points, that's probably why. It's much better if you can try and sit on the barrier to get the most interest when you're online. It's obvious.
Yeah. Totally agree. And if you're in a position where your agent is saying reduce by 2% so that you get a relaunch on Rightmove, which Mike, you jumped straight on there, you knew exactly what was coming, then keep the price the same and change agent, go to an agent that's got better marketing, go to an agent that's going to be different, and have the property relaunched through a new agent and new marketing, I would say. Would you agree, Michael?
Yeah, those ones that are just reduced. Yeah, well, I know people who look when they search for a property, they don't really go in price, but they look in date added. And it's almost those properties that have been on the old stock are, you know, no one wants them. Why do I want them? So yeah, complete refresh needed.
It has been a funny year actually, and I completely agree with that, because I've found if a property's been on for longer than 6 weeks, it's gone stale, hasn't it? It's a very strange market, because everything comes on, sells within 6 days, but once it's gone past 6 weeks, if it hasn't sold, it kind of seems to sit a little bit, which is very strange indeed. Sometimes the best advice is to take it off, wait for summer, put it back on. Dan, you mentioned earlier about a lot of properties coming back to the market now that hadn't sold maybe 12 months ago, for example, because the market was very different. And I'm seeing some relisted properties that you think, you know, that is cheap now, even if it's come on at the same price or slightly more. It shows the way the market's gone. I mean, Zoopla said 6% increase year to date, but what would be your gut feeling? I think for me, around where I'm operating, maybe 11-12% uplift on asking prices, I would think, in 12 months.
I would say between 10 and 15% on some of them. I mean, I had one that we sold at the asking price originally, and unfortunately it fell through right before exchange. This could happen. We relisted for more money 4 months later, and it was significantly more and got the asking price. So in a short amount of time, the demand's there, isn't there? There's a lot of buyers who want to buy. Yeah,
100%. Mike, same in your neck of the woods.
Same here. Yeah, 10% easy the last 12 months. That's sort of been the uplift, and yeah, there are properties that will come back on or fall through. Maybe they've been a bit unlucky. They'll get that price again, if not more. Just how it's going.
What about the rental world, Tristan? Prices, obviously, tenant demand is almost more tenant demand at the moment than buyer demand, which is unbelievable, really. But are you seeing a drastic increase in prices?
I think it depends on the property too, whether we're seeing that. We are seeing increases. So interesting to say that from my stats, there was a report from landlords that have let their properties this year, and 50% of them have seen increases on their property. So there's quite a large amount on that. For example, a 3-bedroom family home that would typically get 1250 is getting 1400 now. So they've increased by quite a substantial amount. Whereas if you've got a 1-bedroom apartment, you may see a slight increase of £25-50 here or there. It depends on whether you was getting a premium previously, because some of them were getting good rentals already. So it really depends on the property, but in most cases there are increases.
Okay, interesting. And one thing that I'm interested to see that we'll probably see more of in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, probably more 6 months' time, is there was a lot of people that decided to do let to buys when the stamp duty kicked in. They didn't want to hesitate on a transaction on a chain, probably around this time last year, actually, and through to Christmas. There was a big influx of people letting their property out to purchase a property, taking advantage of the up to 15k saving. So I just wonder whether those properties are going to be coming to the market for sale over the next sort of 6 months, or whether people are actually deciding this is relatively straightforward, find a good tenant, and another set of income potentially, because interest rates are so low. Any view on that? Are you hearing any whispers there from sort of accidental landlords, Tristan, at all? Or
I mean, hopefully they don't sell up. We are seeing, like you said, an increase in that, and have done for a period of time. But from the landlords I've been speaking to and that I've dealt with, a lot of their circumstances are different. So typically the ones that I've let recently have been moving overseas for work purposes, as opposed to letting to buy their dream house essentially, or to move on from that. So hopefully I don't see an increase in it, but time will tell, I suppose.
Okay, interesting. Mike, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to drop the C-bomb, Christmas. Don't like to hear it. I know you've got a few kids at home. It's obviously an expensive time for all of us. But if people are now thinking, I want to be moved before Christmas. Really, and again, backing up what Dan said about the transaction period, really, they've got this month to get sold, I would say, not just on the market, but get sold. Is that fair?
Well, it used to be, didn't it? It used to be you put your house on the market in September because you wanted to be in before Christmas. I don't know if the world's changed now, you know. But then if you try that, do you want to live out of a box, you know, on Christmas Day because you've just rushed in?
You think longer? You think probably it's probably unrealistic now?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, in the ideal world, great. That's how it always used to be. Yeah. I just think things have changed now.
It's very difficult, isn't it? I know, Dan, we've spoke before about the value of no onward chain, and the fact that there is value in that now. It's not just a bullet point on Rightmove. It is actually something that people will pay for. Do you think probably difficult for people to get in before Christmas, or potentially to people looking to market, think about the value of no onward chain? If you can obviously do that.
First of all, we'll be banking on being in by Christmas if you're selling and buying now, as in just starting it. You can't guarantee it. I think there will be. You'll get some through. You know, some you get through in 6 weeks. It happens, but I think generally speaking, you're probably looking at a January move. It's going to be challenging. But to answer your question about the no onward chain, that's huge for me. I have that conversation with all my sellers about their circumstance. Be really clear about the conversations I'm having with buyers, because believe me, a buyer will call up, and if there's the option for the seller to break the chain, they will do that for the right money, or as advertised as no onward chain, they will get more interest. And those buyers will make a decision on that home over another, even if it's not quite right, because they need to be in for a certain time or setting things up for the start of next year or whatever it may be. So I think it's really important at the moment. Not everyone has the option to do it, which is fair enough. But if you have got that option, it's worth taking.
No, brilliant stuff. And draw obviously the combo to a close. We always like to finish around sort of 6:30, not take up everyone's evenings. One thing I'd probably say, just in general summary from this chat, it's been really interesting actually. We had a few random ones there. You know, on Soccer AM, when someone makes a boo-boo, they like have a I think they have a football kick to them or something. Dan said trigger, and I've said similarly. I don't. Tristan's wearing a collar. I think Mike's the only one that's held strong with us today. Anyway, what I was going to say was bank holidays out the way. Kids are back at school. International break this weekend, which no one cares about. So if you are thinking of moving and you're looking for a valuation or just a chat with an estate agent, just some advice with an estate agent, and not just an estate agent which is sales target driven, someone that lives and breathes in your local community like all the Avocado partners do. There's 17 of us operating across the home counties. We'd love to just have a conversation with you. There's not going to be any forced sales. When you're ready to move, you're ready to move. But if you want genuine advice, we will give it to you. So contact us, jump on the website, avocadopropertyagents.co.uk. Check in with any of the partners. You can see all of their pages on the website on the partner tab. We're always happy to respond to DMs on Facebook, Instagram. You can find us all over social media channels. We keep doing these at 6 p.m. every Thursday because the feedback we get from them is really positive. People really enjoy them. So for the people that have watched throughout, next week, ask us questions. We love questions. Thank you to Sanjay for his. Dan, just to put you on the spot, next 4 months, expectations on the market, you know, what would you sum it up as in 60 seconds?
Okay, so prices have held strong. We've seen that throughout the year. I don't think that's going to change. I think they're still going to hold strong into next year. I think we'll have a really, really busy few months, probably up to the end of November. I think December will go dead because it'll be potentially the first year when everyone can actually have a proper Christmas. I think January will be crazy. So I think the market's going to be very positive, continue where it is, quiet December, and the start of next year will be absolutely bananas.
Interesting stuff. From a property investor and landlord's perspective, Tristan, your expectations on property market for the next 4 months?
Yeah, I sort of agree with Dan, to be fair. I think it's going to be busy. December's always a fairly quieter month than any other time of the year. But for lettings, we're always still doing business right up to Christmas. So I think rents will remain the same. I think there will be more stock coming to the market, but I think they'll be going just as quickly as they are going, and they have done for a long time. But then I think we'll come into a really busy January. So yeah, I reckon it's positive stuff for us.
Good. And Michael, your perspective?
Yeah, same. I think also with the sort of restrictions being lifted and now the kids have gone back to school, this is as normal as it has been. So I think there'll be more properties coming on the market, normal life resuming, but I think prices will steadily edge up.
Yeah.
Over that 4 months.
Interesting, isn't it? I think we saw in lockdown, when everyone was in together, the importance of more space. Maybe summer holidays have highlighted that again for people working from home with kids at home. A lot of people need to move now. So I think we might see demand for garages, gardens where you can put home offices in. I think we're seeing an influx of properties coming to the market. I think we might see the prices potentially still go up, but not quite at the rate that they were going up. And I think we'll probably see a plateau in interest rates in the mortgages. I mean, they're dirt cheap. They can't keep going down. So, yeah, I think that's probably from my point of view where we see it. No, really enjoyed it, gents. I'm looking forward to next week's chat again, and have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your Friday, and thank you all for joining me and streaming to your pages.
Thank you very much.